Okay, so I was going to break exercise and like mindset, and like behavior modification apart, but I think we'll tackle those together. I mean, oops. So if you think of questions, whether it's nutrition, exercise, or anything, you can just write them down and we'll take some of those towards the end. Even if they're about nutrition, they don't have to be about the later stuff. All right, let's talk about exercise. What is the point of exercise? Again, I told you I like to really ask that question about a lot of things. I question most things in my life, like, well, what's the point of this? And if I can't find a good answer, I probably don't do it. But like, that's probably the biggest misunderstanding. I think people think, oh, I need to exercise, or I need to do this, or exercise is going to help me lose weight, or whatever. But they don't quite understand like the like foundational principles of like what is the actual point of exercise, and they all have. Should I explain this? Different types of exercise have different effects on your body. Weightlifting, cardio. Should I do weights? Should I do cardio? It's like one of the number one questions. Or I get people a lot who like, I like to do the weights, I don't like to do the cardio. Or the other way around, like I like to do the cardio, I don't like to do the weights. But they both have purposes. But at a basic level, exercise, why? The number one reason you should exercise has nothing to do with the way that you look or the way you want to look. We want healthy bones, we want healthy muscles, and we want a healthy metabolism. Metabolism is I should probably explain that. Metabolism is not this like unicorn that lives in a rainbow forest that slowly starts to die as you get older. That seems like the way people talk about it. Like, oh, you either have a fast metabolism or you have a slow metabolism. Well, as you get older, you know, my metabolism's going away. Like, metabolism is actually a really simple concept. And it's not something you just do or don't have. Really, it's not. Your metabolism is the amount of calories you burn at rest. So that's kind of the simple way to think. Like my metabolism is how many calories. If I don't do anything, if I just like lay in bed and keep my eyes closed and don't move a muscle, how many calories would I burn? That's really what metabolism is. That's actually called your basal metabolic rate. That's not really important for you guys. Like, it doesn't matter. B-A-S-I-L, basal, like the plant. How many calories would you burn not digesting food, not blinking your eyes, just being completely still? That's your resting metabolic rate, okay? How do you have a fast or a slow resting metabolic rate? Well, there's not really any such thing as fast and slow. There just is, right? There's just, at rest, I may burn 1,000, or I may burn, I don't know, 1,600, right? Obviously, one is faster than the other in a sense, right? This, at rest, if I burn 1,600 calories a day without doing anything, I'm going to have a little bit easier time losing weight than if I only burn 1,000. Does that make sense? That would what we would call a faster metabolism, a slower metabolism. But what those things aren't just something you have or don't have. That's the thing. Your metabolism is like a formula. Your metabolism is directly proportionate. So as one goes up, the other goes up also, right? To the amount of living tissue you have to keep alive. You have living tissue in your body. You need to keep it alive by burning calories. Like calories are energy, okay? 1 calorie is going back into nutrition. Calories are just energy. And your body, you need energy for your heart to beat. I need energy to be able to bring my hand up to my shoulder. I need energy to stand here because I'm not, like, my muscles are doing something. Maybe not a lot, but I have to have energy for my body to process, okay? And living things have to be fed in order to not die, right? Everybody knows that. Living things have to be fed to not die. All of my living tissue, all of my muscles, all of my bones, my brain, my digestive system, those things all require calories to not die. Does that make sense? The more of that I have, the higher my metabolism is, because I need to burn calories in order to keep those things alive, to not let them die. So the more muscle mass I have, the higher my metabolism is. The denser my bones are, the higher my metabolism is. It's very proportionate to the amount of living tissue I need to keep alive. Okay? That's what your metabolism is. And for most folks, as they age, they start to lose bone density and they start to lose muscle mass, and therefore their metabolism starts to fall, right? When we think of it in terms of, like, you know, oh, I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted, I never gained any weight. Well, it's because your body was still growing. Your body was and that kept your metabolism really high because it's building things. You take in more calories than you need. Instead of just storing it, it builds thicker bones, longer bones. It builds muscles, right? Those calories are used for something else. Does that make sense? Okay, so why do I want to exercise? I want to exercise for healthy bones, muscles, and metabolism, because the more living tissue I make, the denser my bones get, the more healthy my muscles get, the higher my metabolism is going to be. Exercise is going to promote a higher metabolic rate. Changing your body is going to promote a higher metabolic rate, and it's going to be easier to stay where you're at than to gain more weight as you build muscle mass, as you build thicker bones, and as you build a healthier metabolism. So really, the number one reason that we want to exercise isn't to try to burn calories. And that's a reason, but it's not the number one reason. The number one reason is to try to be healthy, to try to have healthy bones, healthy muscles, healthy metabolism, like my body to actually process well, right? For the long term. Whether or not I ever lose any weight or don't lose any weight or have the body I want or not, in order to keep a functioning body doing just that, functioning for a long period of time, it has to stay healthy. And that's really the point of exercise, is to build a better functioning body. Okay? More than all of the other stuff. How? How should we exercise? Is always the next question, right? Once we get past healthy bones, muscles, metabolism, we get past the fact that exercise burns calories, which can be helpful, right? We talked about calories and that being part of weight loss. Burning calories is part of changing your body, okay? But once we get past the why do we exercise? To burn calories, to develop a healthier metabolism, healthier bones, healthier muscles, healthier insides and outsides. How do we do it? And that's, like I hinted at a minute ago, kind of the biggest question people want to ask is what type of exercise should I be doing? There are three. You should be doing all three. Okay? I like to draw this diagram And I like to say, like any good Venn diagram, this is called a Venn diagram, right? You want to live in the middle because that has all of the benefits of all of them. Okay? How should I exercise? With weights and with resistance, right? That's another term for weight lifting or weight training is resistance training, because it is required that there be resistance, something resisting me, right? And if I pick up a dumbbell, that weight is resisting, it's pulling itself back to the floor, and it's creating resistance. Does that make sense? Okay. The thing about building strength, and I actually really love this saying for all parts of life, is that to build strength, resistance is required. You cannot build strength without having resistance. It's not possible. Including gravity, like the reason your bones have become as dense as they have, and the reason your muscles have developed the way they have is because gravity is pulling you towards the center of the earth. And that's resistance, right? It's always present. It is pulling me down. And literally, like, this is a problem for astronauts, is how do they not lose all of their muscle mass and bone density when they go to space? Because once they're in space, there's no more gravity, and so there's nothing creating down force on them to make their bodies keep their muscle or keep their bone density. And that's a huge area of study, is how do we keep astronauts from literally whittling away while they're in space. Right? You have to have exercise. You have to have resistance in order to build strength. And when I talk about strength, I'm not talking about like big, bulky muscle. I'm talking about like strength, the ability to do something. I want to move this bench. This bench weighs whatever it weighs. It's not going to change its weight because I'm weaker, or because I'm stronger, because I'm smaller, because I'm bigger. It weighs what it weighs, and if I need to move it, then I have to be strong enough to move it, period. Right? If I want to move a couch, I have to be strong enough to do it. It doesn't care if I do weight training or if I don't do weight training. It doesn't care if I'm skinny or if I'm fat. It doesn't care if I'm big or if I'm little. It just sits there, and I have to be able to do it if I want to be able to do it, right? So in normal life, you're constantly moving weights, whether they're benches or children or groceries. Life is made up of weightlifting, whether or not you do it with dumbbells and kettlebells and barbells. It's part of life. So to be a normal, healthy, functioning person, because that's in life, we want to train it and we want to get better at it. That's why we weight lift, is to build strong muscles, dense bones, to promote a healthy metabolism, because when you resistance train, your metabolism, because of the damaging effect on your muscles, your metabolism will elevate itself 2 to 3% for 48 hours. Those are not perfect numbers. It's 48 to 72 hours. Literally, you'll burn more calories at rest for 2 days after a weight training session. 2 days, literally. If you normally burn 1,000 calories a day just by standing still, you'll burn more than 1,000 calories a day for 2 days after resistance training. And that's another reason, right? We're literally promoting a healthier metabolism by building stronger bones and stronger muscles by requiring resistance. Okay? That's why we recommend weight training. It's why it should be part of your routine. The next. Body weight. Some people would lump this in as like calisthenics, call this lots of types of things, but literally using your own body weight to create using your own body weight to exercise. Why? Because you have to do it all the time in life. If you cannot move your own body weight, eventually you're going to have a really hard time being functional by yourself, right? You've heard that term, functional. Functional training or functional movements. What that means is that those movements we do in the gym or that we do at home when we exercise mimic movements we do in everyday life, like picking up benches or moving benches or carrying groceries or standing up. That's moving my own body weight, and so I want to train those motions so that I get better at them, so that I'm functional for longer, that my body works better for longer. Longer life, but also that on a daily basis I have more energy because I'm better at just moving myself. And so we want to be really good at moving our own body weight in space for a lot of reasons. Coordination, right? The development of coordination is included in body weight training, but also just making long-term, like making yourself good at living your life, right? When we talk about building healthy bones, muscles, and metabolism. Again, we already talked about one of the reasons to exercise is to burn calories, right? We understand that. Another reason, like to diet, is to cut calories down so that you can lose weight. But there are other reasons that are the reasons why, because you can do a lot of things to burn calories. But why we do the things that we do. And then the last one, the third realm of training that you need, most people call it cardio. I call it conditioning. Healthy heart, healthy lungs. To be able to breathe and take in oxygen and then feed that oxygen out to my muscles so they can keep moving. And they can do so efficiently so that I'm not out of breath. I don't feel like I'm going to die. I can do the things I want to do without them being challenging, and I can have a healthy, right, healthy heart, healthy lungs long term. I mean, two of the biggest issues in our culture is unhealthy hearts, right? Hearts that get unhealthy over time, and then you have what we call a heart attack, right? You have number one killer of people is unhealthy hearts, right? And so what we want, cardio, that's just the word, like abbreviated word for heart. That's why it's called that, because it makes your heart beat faster. I call it conditioning because I like to think of it as, can I do the things I want to do, right? If I want to run a 5K and I can't run a 5K, then I'm not in condition to do that. And so I need to condition myself in order to do that. If I want to play pickup basketball with my friends or go for a hike or live a whole day and not feel tired at the end of it, and I can't do that, well, I need to condition myself to be able to do that. Does that make sense, right? And that's why I call it conditioning and not just cardio. Cardio gives this idea of needing to just jump on a treadmill or an elliptical and just go and go and go. Like, that doesn't have to be it. Anything that elevates your heart rate, right, or gets you out of breath fits in this category. Anything, not just getting on a treadmill or a bike or an elliptical. Okay, well, those are simple ways to do it. You could do these two things and do them quick enough with low enough rest that you could be getting cardio at the same time. Okay. What we want is to live here. We want strong bones and muscles that are only created through resistance. We want to be really good at moving ourselves because I have to do it to live my life. I have to constantly move myself. There's no way around it. And I want to be good at it. I want to be efficient at it so I'm not always tired all the time from moving myself around. And I want to be able to do the things I want to do. And that generally requires healthy heart, healthy lungs. I don't want to have those for long periods of time. Okay? So outside of just burning calories, there are a lot of reasons to exercise and a lot of reasons to do certain types of exercise. Okay? The last thing I'll talk about in exercise. Hormesis. Okay, it's your Hormesis. It spells just like it sounds. This is your $100 word for the day. Hormesis. Anybody know what hormesis is? Sweet. Or I think it's a T. It might be a D. Or a hormetic response. Same thing, just two different ways to say it depending on how you put it in a sentence. Hormesis. This is the founding principle of how we apply exercise to our lives to make progress. Okay? This is how we do it. Hormesis. Sorry, that popped into my head as I started to say this. What hormesis is? Okay. A hormetic response. When you apply stress to your body, when you apply stress to your organism, your body responds by adapting to that stress. So when I apply stress to my body says, okay, we got a new stress. We need to get better at dealing with this stress. So we're going to respond, and we're going to respond by doing what? We're going to get more resilient. We're going to get stronger. We're going to build muscle. We're going to have denser bones. Okay? Hormesis is the process of applying stress to your body in small enough doses that your body can adapt to it and get stronger and get better, right? It's like getting a flu shot, okay? Literally, they guess in a flu shot, they guess what strands of flu they think are going to come that year, and then they give you a little bit of it. That's what a flu shot is. They give you the flu, and they give you the flu in such a small dose that your body can make antibodies and fight that thing and not make you sick. But if you've ever had a flu shot and not felt great afterwards, that's why, because you have a really low dose of the flu. And then when the actual flu comes around, your body's ready for it because it's had a hormetic response to the flu shot you got, and you don't get sick. Does that make sense? That's what we do when we exercise. We apply a stress, a new stress, to the body that forces the body to grow and to adapt. And that's how we make progress, is by continually, relentlessly applying new stress to the body. And I think this is really important because it makes it, how should I say this? You understand that you have to continue challenging yourself in order to continue making progress. It's the only way. Your body will get used to whatever you do, and if you just do the same thing all the time, your body won't be challenged and it won't make progress. It will just stay where it is. So if you start exercising this much, in a couple of weeks, you're going to need this much, and then you're going to need this much, and then you're going to need this much in order to keep making progress. That's not necessarily time. I'm not saying you start with 5 minutes, you go to 10, then pretty soon you got to be working out for like 8 hours a day. That's not what I'm talking about. But you have to create a new stress response on the body. So if you start with, you can start with walking and increase a couple of things, right? You could increase the time, that would be more than before. You could increase the rate, so how fast you walk, which would also be, without going any more time, you could do the same amount of time and try to cover more distance. That would be a way of challenging yourself to something new, right? You could carry a weight, you could do, body weight squats, you could maybe do 10 of these, sit down and stand up, and that is probably going to make you sore the first time you do it. And then if you do it again, you're not going to be sore. Because your body got used to it. It got ready. And so the next time, you either need to do those 10 reps faster, right, to create a new stress, or you need to do 15 reps or 2 sets of 8. That would be 16 reps. That would be more than you did the time before. Or maybe you hold a weight and you do your same 10 reps, but now it's heavier, right? There's lots of ways to continue creating challenge, whether it's through new movements you haven't ever done before, or faster movements, or the ones you're getting good at, or heavier movements if you're making progress in the gym with weight training, or to go for longer than you did before. There's lots of ways to do this, but the important thing that you understand is you have to continue challenging yourself, or it doesn't work. It's the foundational principle, and the same is true with your diet. The same is true with your food. Over time, you will just get used to the new thing, and you'll just stay the same. You'll make a lot of progress early on because it's new and you haven't done it yet, and then your body is going to adapt, because bodies are great at that. They adapt to the new demands. Okay? And as soon as they adapt, they stop making progress. So you need to find a new challenge. And that can be switching up your workout routine. That could be going to a different class. That could be, having a trainer. It could be following a workout on YouTube, first, like typing in beginner workout on YouTube. It would be doing something different that wasn't done before. If you look around, there are so many weird things in here because we get really bored really easily. And we don't want to just do the same thing every single time. Right? That's why we have medicine balls that go to 100 pounds, and we got like weird things you don't even know what you would do with. And it's because we know we have to keep applying new stresses to the body, things we haven't done before, and we also have to keep ourselves and our minds engaged by doing new things and challenging ourselves and playing with new objects and new exercises and new routines. We have to do it. I have to write people's workouts to be new and challenging and different, and to get more out of them, or they will stop making progress. Right? And we have to do the same with our diets. We have to do the same with our bodies. It's the process of hormesis, and it's the most foundational principle of all, is that you will only adapt to the amount of stress. And people don't like stress. That's why I love this talk. And whoever says, I'd love to be stressed, right? But literally, your body was designed to adapt to the stress that's placed on it, right? And you may not be where you want to be or where you envision yourself, but you don't have to jump from where you are straight there. You have to continually apply new stresses to the body, and you cannot let up. You have to be relentless. You have to keep pushing in order to keep making progress. The new weights, the new times, the personal records, the new exercises, you cannot get comfortable. And I know, that's the number one thing everybody wants. And that's why, as a society, we're having as many issues as we're having, is because we've chased comfort for so long as a people group that our bodies are proving that we just want to be comfortable, okay? And you need to find ways to challenge yourself to be uncomfortable. And I understand that that's hard. It's really, really difficult, but is the only way to make long-term progress, is to keep the challenge up. Okay? So that's exercise. Okay, the things we want to focus on, how we want to keep challenging ourselves in all three of those areas, and why, because we want healthy bones, healthy muscles, healthy metabolism. And the benefit of healthy things is that they generally look healthy. Healthy bodies generally look healthy. The changes you want in your body and to see in your body are going to come by pursuing the healthiest body you can have, not necessarily just by trying to change it or force it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's the number one thing I could tell you to do, is pursue health, pursue long-term progress, and being the person you want to be, and the physical change will come with that, okay? So I'm gonna erase this board, and we're gonna talk briefly about mentality, even though there's a lot of mentality stuff there, and then I'll let you ask some questions, okay? Cool. I'm going to start with a story. I grew up just like everybody else. Everybody grew up. My parents are very different. My mom, my entire childhood, never worked out. Never, not one time. She never worked out. But every single day she walked for 45 minutes. She'd carry little weights, and she'd go walk. She would not miss it. I mean, if it was raining, she'd like wait until it stopped raining, then she'd go do as much as she could. But she never worked out past 45 minutes of walking every single day. Like, I got to see my friends because she would walk with their parents, and she'd take me to see them. We'd play for 45 minutes, and then we'd go home. That was routine. My mom. My dad was very different. Like I said, my parents were very different. My dad got really into working out when I was in middle school, to the point that, like, as a 50-year-old, you could kind of see his abs. He was like fit looking. He ran marathons in more than half of the US states. He would do his 20-minute Bowflex. He would do his hour-long Power 90 videos, and then he'd go run in the evenings. And he would keep this up for 4 months at a time. And then the other 8 months of the year, he would get really out of shape. He would build his gut back up, and he would look, by the time he tried to start the next year, it would look like he'd never worked out in his whole life. And then he would try to make this progress again, and he would succeed, and then he would get busy with work. And then he would try to make this progress again, and he would succeed, and then he would get busy with work. And eventually, he never made his progress again. Those situations are as opposite as they get. And they're both wrong, in a way. If you want to be fit, or we call this beginning fitness, if you want to be fit and if you want to make progress long term, you need a little bit of both, okay? My mom was incredibly consistent. She would not miss it, no matter what, but she never challenged herself. She never pushed herself. She never learned how to do anything new. She never, wanted to quit and kept going. She just did what she did every single day. And my dad would challenge himself and push himself and want to quit and do it anyways, and make the healthy food and get really into it, and then he would stop being consistent. And there's a lesson that I'm trying to learn from both of them, and that's how to do both, right? I need to be able to do both. I need to be able to challenge myself and do the hard work and do it even when I don't want to do it, but I can't let that win over being consistent. And I can't let being consistent win over challenging myself. They're both necessary, and these are the two things that I see with everybody that I work with. They fall into one of the camps or the other. Either they're long-term consistent, they've always done what they've always done, they'll be at the gym every single day, but they'll maybe never really challenge themselves, or they ride the wave. They get really motivated for short periods of time, and then they get kind of unmotivated. You don't see them for 2 weeks, and they get really motivated. And we have to blend these two worlds. We have to take the important things from both and leave out the not so important things. Okay? And that's really the first step in mindset, I think, and behavior change, is realizing that whatever changes I make whatever changes I make, the first rule has to be, can I keep this up long term? Can I be consistent, right? Because that, without consistency, I can't make progress. Anything done for a short period of time and given up will be lost. Any progress I make, when I stop doing what I'm doing, I will lose. So I always have to say, okay, I want to make this change in my life. Can I be consistent? Is it a change that can be kept up for the rest of my life? Can I envision that? And if I can't, I don't make that change right now. Right now, I don't make that change. I make the change that I want, that I can keep long term. Okay? And over time, that change that felt like it was way too much stops feeling like it's so out of reach. Right? So what I'm saying is, as you go home today and there's the things that you want to do different, don't feel like the only way to make progress is to like totally be a new person tomorrow. That's awesome, but it's probably not the way you want to make progress. You probably want to start slowly tweaking the way you do things until all of a sudden your habits are different and you're living a totally different life than you lived before. Okay? So the first thing I always ask is consistent. Once I can get consistent, I should probably do it this way. This is number one, because it matters the most. Then I ask myself, is it challenging? Okay. Consistency first. You don't go the other way around. Consistency is the first. Can I be consistent? And once I can, then I ask myself, is this challenging? Because challenge is going to promote change, but consistent is going to keep it. Okay? It's hard for me to believe, as fit as I've seen my dad at times in my life, that he seems like sometimes he's never worked out before. It's because this is the, I didn't write it too. It's because this is the only question he ever asks, is it challenging? He never asks, can I be consistent first? And as soon as he can't be consistent with what he's decided is challenging, he loses all the progress that he started making. Okay? And my mom was the other way around. She only ever asked, what can I do consistently? And she never stopped to ask herself, am I challenging myself? Am I doing something that's going to make me better, or am I just being consistent? Okay? So in that order, when you want to make a change in your life, you ask the question, can I be consistent? Once you can answer yes, you ask yourself, is it going to be challenging? Because we know, after we talked about hormesis, that challenges are what change us. Okay? I'm going to wrap this up with one more thing. Let's write that different. When you want to change, when you want something to be different, this is the process to succeed in, oh wow, big writing, it's a little writing. This is the process to succeed in making the changes you want to make. First, you have to clarify your direction. Where do you actually want to go? What is the place you want to be? Where are you now? Where do you want to go? And the more detailed you can be with your direction, the better, because that's going to help you make your plan, right? When I know where I want to go, then I can move on and I can ask myself, what's the plan to get me there? I have a job, but because people know this and they don't know this, right? And they stink at the rest of these. My job starts here and plan. Okay? People have a direction, they come see me to help them make a plan. Okay? How can they do it? It's not to say that you can't do it on your own, because I did it on my own, and I had to learn a lot of things along the way, but people change their lives all the time without having trainers. Okay? I'm not selling my job, but that's not the point. Okay? They need a plan. How do I get from where I am now to where I want to go? This is my direction. I help them make a plan in order to succeed. That's the best thing you can do in your life, is actually plan how you're going to change. Plan how you're going to do things different. Plan by thinking about what are the hard things, what are the easy things, what do I need to be prepared for, right? When I know where my biggest challenges are on the road to where I'm going, then I can set myself up for success. And that takes me to my next one, and that's my surroundings. I had a client one time say, my friend was telling me it's so hard to make habit changes because we just get used to the way we do things and they become automatic. And the way she was trying to prove that we do things automatically all the time without thinking is, she said, just try putting your toothbrush down on the other side of the sink. Like, really, you want to see how hard it is to change a habit? Try putting your toothbrush somewhere different than you put it right now. And you'll realize that you're constantly forgetting, right? Oh, and you just make that mistake. It's hard to change a habit. And I looked at her and I was like, my client told me this. I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. If I wanted to change where I put my toothbrush, then I would put a sticky note where I put my toothbrush right now, and I would say, don't put me here. So then every time I go to set my toothbrush in the cup that I use now, it says, don't put me here, and I put it somewhere different, right? That's a mental block. Next one. Mental block for her right now is thinking the only way I can change my habits are to remember to have better habits, right? Or to have better focus, have better self-control, to force myself to do things better, to just follow my plan as hard as I can. That's wrong, right? That's a surefire way to not make the progress you want. What you need to do is put your sticky notes. Not literal sticky notes. I mean, maybe that will help, but that was just my example for how I'm going to remember to put my toothbrush in a different place if I needed to. You need to set your surroundings up in a way that will make you successful. One of the number one ways to do that in terms of diet is to get rid of the crap that's in your house. If you don't want to eat crap late at night and you have trouble eating crap late at night like I do, then don't have crap around. You know what I mean? Like, if you have an issue with having a half-eaten pint of Ben & Jerry's and not finishing it like I do, then you just don't keep Ben & Jerry's around. You know, and when it's worth it, you go drive to the store, you sit down, you eat what you want, and then you throw it away when you're done, right? That's how you set your surroundings up for success. And that's one way. But as you think through your plan, then you think through your day-to-day life and what are your normal surroundings. How can you set yourself up to be around people, right? Surroundings, to be around people who are going to help you change and are going to promote change in your life, not hold you back. How are you going to set your life up to do it better, right? How are you going to set up what's going on around you to push you towards being more successful? Once we've got our surroundings set up, we need to go to our mental blocks. We need to find out what are the things in our head that are holding us back. What am I telling myself or giving myself permission that's keeping me from being where I want to be, right? The biggest one I deal with people who want to lose weight, especially, that's just an easy example, is they think of themselves as who they are right now. And this is who I am, and they come see me and they think I need to act outside of who I am as a person in order to be somebody different. That makes sense? Like, this is who I am. What you see is who I am as a person. And so exercising for me is abnormal, or eating better for me is weird, right? Those are mental blocks by me saying, I am who I am, and for me to change, I would have to become a different person. Right? What I'm doing is I'm shoving myself in this inside of this circle by saying, this is me. What I want is outside of me. Do you see how you're going to have a hard time getting what you want if you aren't what you want? You have to stop thinking that way. You have to stop thinking that going to the gym 3 days a week is different for you. You have to start thinking that that's normal. You just have to start thinking, I'm a healthy person, and healthy people make healthy decisions. I'm not an unhealthy person. I tell people all the time, you can only be an unhealthy person trying to make healthy decisions for so long until you fail, because you still believe you're an unhealthy person. And so as soon as you make an unhealthy decision, you just say, yeah, but that's just who I am. I can't help it. Right? You just give yourself permission all the time to do things that you don't even want to do, because you say, well, it's just who I am. That's just who I am. I can't help it. And that's what you don't realize yet is that that's a really crappy way to live. To put yourself into such a small box that you could never make any decision outside of your personality. What? Like, I'm going to be me no matter what I do. I'm already me. I'm already Seth. And if I do something right now that's outside of my character, I'm still me. And that's something weird, is we get this idea of like, well, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And it's like, you're just reinforcing the thing you don't want to stay the same. Like, you're just forcing it to not ever change. You have to start saying, that's not who I am anymore. Like, that may be who I used to be, or that may be how I would used to feel about that situation, or maybe I used to whatever, but now I'm becoming a different person. And different people make decisions differently, right? You have to start making decisions outside of just that tiny box of who you say, this is who I am, based on my past experience, right? And the people who don't overcome that don't change. It's just, they just don't, or they go back to who they used to be, right? You have to overcome your own mental barriers that are stopping yourself in order to make long-term change. This is the saddest one of them all for me, because I see people make huge amounts of progress and do amazing things, and then they just can't quit thinking negatively about themselves. They just can't quit the negative self-talk. They can't quit the insecurity and the self-loathing or the being their own worst enemy. And eventually it brings them back into what used to be, right? The easiest, my number one thing that I think when I'm mental blocking myself is sorry, I'm going a little over on time. But I think this is important. I ask myself, am I being my own best friend? And most of the times when I really dig into people's lives, I find that they're their worst enemy instead of their best friend. Like, we don't cheer ourselves on, we don't congratulate ourselves, we don't believe in ourselves. All the things that a best friend would do, all the things that a best friend would say to you, it's like we say the opposite to ourselves. Like my best friends, if I was like, man, I'm just having a terrible day, and my best friends would say the most encouraging things, and they would, come in that thing with me and encourage me and help me believe better. And when I get myself into that situation, I find myself like being really mean to myself instead of being my own best friend. And I think we all kind of have that in us. Maybe you guys can correct me and you're just always your own best friend, but like rarely do I cheer myself on, Rarely do I say, no, actually I think I can do this. Like rarely do I act with that voice in my head like I want myself to succeed. I usually let that voice in my head tell me I'm never going to make it. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I won't succeed. I'll just fall back into my old habits. And that's really stupid. I don't know why it's gotten so foreign for us to like be nice to ourselves, but it has. And you really, to get through these mental blocks, you have to ask yourself, like, am I being my own best friend right now? Like, am I treating myself the way that my most favorite person in the world would treat me? Like that person I love being around all the time, what would they do? What would they say if I was having this conversation with them instead of this conversation in my head? And generally, that shows me the mental blocks that need to be put off and put away. And then lastly, accountability. If you really want to be successful, you'll find ways in your life to have accountability and not to run from it. If you really want success in any area, not just fitness and health, but in job or in your family or in something new you want to learn how to do, if you want to be successful, you'll find ways to have accountability, not find ways to run from accountability, right? And that's really hard, actually, because it's hard to be accountable, and it's especially hard to be accountable when I have the potential to fail. When I could actually succeed or not succeed, and I know somebody's going to hold me accountable, it's really hard to do. But if you really want to make long-term progress, I promise you need to find people you can trust. People you can trust, right? These people, because you can. It's not the best idea to be your own accountability when you're not your own best friend yet. Because you won't help yourself succeed. You will help yourself fail, right? So don't make it personal. Get the people you really trust in your lives to be on your team. That can be accountability through situations, right? Or that can be accountability through like actual people, like asking you how you're doing, but find a way to do it. If you really, really want to make progress, don't just do the planning, like find a way to do the surrounding, to set your life up for success. Find a way to silence that negative voice, no matter what, and then find a way to have some accountability. Those things are really, really important in progress anywhere in life. So I'm going to wrap it up there. And if you guys have written any questions down or have any questions for me, I would love to do the best I can to answer them. And I'm going to, while you think for a second, I'm going to erase this in case I need to write anything. I don't think so. I think that's like asking yourself, is X diet the right one for everyone? What I see people, and I actually just had this conversation with somebody different this week, where I see people make the most mistakes in, we'll call it dieting, but when I say dieting, I really mean like long-term, like the way you eat. Like where I see people make the most mistakes in changing those long-term things and being successful dieters, and what I mean is successful behavior change and really getting what they want, is thinking that they have to fit into a mold. Like that, I have to, this is the way to do it, there are ways to do it, and I need to shove myself inside of this thing and be this, and that will be successful. And there's a time and a place to make decisions that are different than you would normally make decisions. You say, well, this is what works for me, and you say, yeah, but is it working for me because I'm not where I want, right? Is it actually work for me, or is it just easier, right? Those are two different things. And so trying to shove yourself into like, no, I need to eat smaller portions and more times a day, like, doesn't work for a lot of people because of schedules, because of work, because of the way life goes. What I would do is ask whoever, right, what's your biggest issue? And if my biggest issue is that I end up finding myself really hungry and I pull through McDonald's, or I, pull through Cookout, or I pick up something that I find myself eating and I'm like, wait, I didn't want to eat this. Like I get done, I'm like, I didn't want that.